Well, this is hello, I guess. Since this is my first YouTube video, I figured we should start where every good woodworker starts, with a box. So right out of the gate, I ran into my first problem. My boards were too thick. Now this is a pretty simple solution if you have a thickness planer, but I don't. So I had to get a little bit creative with the table saw. I first ripped the boards in half to make them a little bit more manageable, and then shaved about 1/8 of an inch off the panels before gluing 3 of them together. Now this worked, albeit not super amazingly, and probably more importantly, I didn't feel very safe doing this. The shaving cut was just weird. I also spent about an hour making a plank, so there's that. But at the end of the day, we got where I wanted to get. So I came back a couple days later to take off the clamps and the parts of clamps. I was left with a semi-smooth board, and I had quite a bit of glue ooze out that I wanted to clean up. So my first thought was, I'll take the chisel to it and try and scrape off the excess glue. And this really didn't work. So then I thought, well, maybe the sander will do the trick, and that worked even worse. So finally, I busted out a tool that I am wholly unequipped to use and took the hand plane to it. Now initially this was not pretty, but in time I kind of got the hang of it, and after way more passes than I show, and one blister, we have ourselves a pretty smooth board. So I took this butte over the table saw to dimension it up. I went for an exterior of 8x12, chosen pretty much arbitrarily. Now to spruce things up a little bit, I want to go for some finger joints. My board happened to be 5 and 5/32 inch wide, so I just divided that by 5 for easy math. Marked it up, and then took it to the table saw to hog out the fingers. I've never done this before, so it wasn't perfect, and I don't have any fancy jig to help me out. But after quite a few passes, and some cleaning up, we had an open-faced box. Then I needed a top and bottom. If you can't tell, my strategy is going to be make a closed box and then cut it open. So I had some 1/4 inch plywood kicking about that I decided to use. Now I want to add some grooves in all 4 sides to hold on to my top and bottom like this, which I can achieve by passing my boards over the table saw with the blade only partially raised. Except I ran into a slight problem where I had to lower and then raise my long end boards onto and off of the table saw in order to avoid having the cuts exposed on the ends and then showing up in the final box. And this worked pretty well in most cases and not so well in others. But it was finally time to see it all put together. And once I was confident that it fit, it was time for the real deal. The glue up went pretty smoothly. I managed to get the clamps on, and even took a little bit of time to fix the beauty spots. And now while we wait for it to dry, I think I'll head outside to watch the sunset. Coming back, my box is pretty rough at this point. So before splitting it open, I went back to old trusty and used the table saw to clean up all 6 sides. And then it was time for the grand reveal. Now this box doesn't make much sense without some hardware, so before finishing I wanted to pre-install a couple hinges on the back and then a clamp on the front. So I marked out all the positions of the holes, pre-drilled them, and then screwed everything together before unscrewing it so I could apply a coat of polyurethane. And while I'm working at this, I wanted to take a second just to thank you guys for making it this far into the video. much like this project, I know this video is a little bit rough. My commentary isn't perfect, my shots aren't always correct, but everyone has to start somewhere. And I really love woodworking and approaching problems in the shop, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So, thanks. Now enough sappiness. Without further ado, I present to you my box. So there it is. Is it perfect? No, not at all. There's some dings, there's some marks, there's some lines that don't line up. But I don't really care, because my advice for today, whatever you want to do, just pick it up and do it.